Hello and welcome. Today we're going to dive into a topic that, let's be honest, can feel like a total tangled mess in a lot of companies: information technology. We're going to figure out how to take all that tech chaos and turn it into a real, powerful, strategic advantage for the business. And it all comes down to two key ideas: governance and management.
So, let's just start with a really fundamental question. Think about where you work. Is your technology a powerful engine that's pushing you forward, making things happen? Or is it a heavy anchor, just dragging you down and holding you back? If you're feeling that anchor, you are definitely not alone, and you are in exactly the right place.
And does any of this sound familiar? You've got projects that are constantly late, always blowing past the budget. You get those heart-stopping security alerts, maybe even data breaches. There's this feeling that nobody really knows who's in charge of the big tech decisions. IT spending, it's just a mystery black box. And maybe the worst part is, all these expensive tech projects don't seem to have any real connection to what the business is actually trying to do. These are all classic signs that your technology ship is just adrift at sea.
So to get that ship back on course, we need to understand two really critical but very different jobs. I want you to think of your company's technology like it's a massive ship. You absolutely need someone to steer it, and you need someone else to run the engine room. These two roles, that's governance and management. And trust me, understanding the difference between them is everything. Let's break it down.
Okay, here's the difference in a nutshell. Governance is like the captain up on the bridge, the one who's steering the ship and setting the destination. It's all about the why. Why are we doing this? It's about making those big strategic decisions, setting policies, and making sure that IT is actually delivering real value to the business. Management, on the other hand, well, they're the chief engineer down in the engine room. They're focused on the how. How do we get there? They're executing the plan, building the systems, monitoring everything, and just making sure the day-to-day operations run smoothly and efficiently. You see? You can't have one without the other. You need both to succeed.
So, a ship doesn't just sail around randomly, right? It follows the rules of the sea, it has navigation charts, it has checklists for the crew, and in the world of IT, that whole framework is built on a really clear hierarchy of rules that guides what everyone does and keeps the entire operation safe and coordinated.
At the very top, you have policy. Think of this as the captain's direct order. It's a high-level statement about the what and the why. Something simple, clear, and totally non-negotiable. For example, all company data must be protected, period.
Okay, next up you have a standard. This is what makes the policy measurable. So if the policy is the captain's order, the standard is the mandatory navigation chart you have to follow. For example, a standard could be, we will enforce the principle of least privilege. See, now we have a concrete rule we can actually follow to support the policy.
And finally, we get to the procedure. This is the crew's super detailed checklist. It's the step-by-step how-to guide. It would spell out exactly how an employee requests access to something, who has to approve it, and the exact technical steps to grant it. It's all about making sure things are done the right way every single time.
Of course, even the best-run ship is going to face some dangers out on the open sea. That's where risk management comes in. Think of it as constantly scanning the horizon for icebergs. It's a pretty straightforward process. First, you identify potential threats. What could go wrong? Second, you assess them. How likely is it to happen, and how bad would it be if it did? Third, you respond. You have to decide, do we avoid this risk, try to mitigate it, maybe share it through insurance, or do we just accept it? And finally, and this is key, you continuously monitor the situation to make sure your plan is actually working.
All right, to make all of this actually work in the real world, you need a clear crew structure. One of the best ways to do this is something called the 3 lines model. It's a fantastic way to make sure everyone knows their role in managing risk and just, keeping the ship sailing smoothly in safety.
So let's meet the crew, shall we? The first line, that's your management. These are the folks doing the day-to-day work. They own and manage the immediate risks right there in their operations. Then you have the second line. This is your risk and compliance team. They provide expertise, they set policies, and, importantly, they challenge the first line to make sure risks are being handled the right way. And finally, you have the third line, internal audit. These folks are completely independent. Their job is to provide objective assurance to the board, to senior leadership, that the first 2 lines are doing their jobs and that the whole system is working like it's supposed to.
Okay, so we've talked about steering the ship, the rules of the sea, the crew structure, but let's get down to it. Why does any of this matter? What is the real-world payoff for putting all this structure in place?
This, right here, is the ultimate goal, the big payoff.
When you have good governance, technology stops being just a cost center, that necessary but frustrating expense on the balance sheet. Instead, it becomes a genuine strategic advantage that actually helps you win in the market.
So remember all those symptoms of chaos from the beginning? Well, with this kind of structure in place, look what happens. Your tech projects are now tightly aligned with what the business is actually trying to achieve. Security isn't a frantic, reactive scramble, it's proactive. That mysterious black box of IT spending, now it's optimized for a clear return on investment. And instead of confusion, you get crystal clear accountability. Ultimately, all of this lets your business innovate faster and, crucially, much more safely than ever before.
So, I'll leave you with this thought to take back with you. I want you to take a really hard look at your own company's technology and ask yourself this: who is actually steering the ship? Is there a clear hand on the wheel guiding you toward a strategic destination, or are you just kind of drifting in the current, hoping you can avoid the next storm? The answer to that question, well, that makes all the difference.